Hey guys, today we're going to do some more solving equations with algebra tiles, so you need to fill in your note sheet as we go through this. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is write down the steps for solving equations on our equation map. So the very first thing I always want you to do is combine like terms or make zero pairs. You guys are pretty good at doing that already. Second thing that you should be doing is looking to remove the same amount from both sides. So if you see x's on both sides, the same amount, get rid of them. Number 3, get the x's alone. So you want to try to get the x's on one side and the 1's on the other side. To do that, you might have to add in the same amount to both sides. Remember, if you do something to one side, you have to do it to the other, except for zero pairs. And then the 5th step is to find out what does x have to be to make both sides equal. All right, so we did these steps on Friday in class, but now we're going to get to a little bit harder ones. All right, so you should have this problem on your mat. So here's the first thing that we're going to do. Okay, over on the side, you have room to write down what are both sides of the equations kind of starting with. So I'm going to write down what I have on both sides. So this side, it looks like I have 3x's. Okay, so I'm just going to write that out, 3x. Okay, plus, it looks like I also have a negative x. So I want you to write that, negative x. Plus, it looks like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ones. So I'll write plus 6. That's on my first side. That needs to equal, so I want to know when does that equal what's on this side, and I have a x plus a negative x. Again, I'm just writing down what started on the mat. And then plus, I have 3 positive ones, so I'll write plus 3, and then plus, I have 1 negative one, so I'll write plus negative 1. Okay, so there's kind of my first step, just writing down what I have. Eventually, we're not going to be using these algebra tiles to solve equations, and you guys will just be solving it from like something like this. You'll know how to do it eventually. So let's go ahead and look at our mat, see if we see any legal moves. So why don't you push pause and do some legal moves that you think maybe you know, and then you can push play and watch me go through them. All right, so first thing, let's make some zero pairs. On this first side, I'll get rid of these. That makes a zero pair. On the other side, I'll get rid of an x and a negative x, and a 1 and a negative 1. Okay, so I got rid of those. All right, next thing, is there anything the same on both sides you can get rid of? Well, I see a couple 1's on both sides, some positive ones, so I'll get rid of those. And again, it's okay because I'm doing the same thing from both sides. All right, now you might notice, here's what you have left. You have 2x on the first side plus 4, and on the other side you have 0. Okay, now that doesn't really help me too much because I have the x's and the 1's both on the same side. So your next goal is you want to get these x's all by themselves over here. Okay, so basically you want to try to get rid of these 4 1's. So to do that, think what would cancel out 4 positive ones? Well, if I added in 4 negative ones, that's okay. Now, as long as you do that to one side, you have to do it to the other, okay, because that's the same amount, so it's okay. Okay, so now that I did that, this is really going to help me. These 4 positive ones are going to cancel out these 4 negative ones. And so now, here's what I have left. On this side, I have 2x. On the other side, I have negative 4. All right, my last step is to figure out, well, what does x have to be to make this true? 2 times something is negative 4. Well, a way to do that is to actually think, well, what if I just divide by 2? That'll help me. So negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. So x has to be negative 2. Okay, now let's see if that works. If I came back and if I plug that in here, 2 times negative 2, that does give me negative 4. So my solution to this equation, it's called a solution, is x equals negative 2. So that's what x is. That would make both of these sides true. All right, so now we're going to show a check to make sure that we did that right. So basically, I'm going to come back to my tiles and fill in what everything equals. So like this is a 1 tile, 1, 1, 1. Those are all positive ones. Now for x, I got negative 2. So I'm going to fill in that for x, I got negative 2. I got negative 2, negative 2. Now this is the tricky part, guys. This tile is actually a negative x tile, or the opposite of whatever x was. Always kind of think of this as like the opposite. So what's the opposite of negative 2? Which is positive 2. Okay, so over here, same thing. The x was a negative 2, and then this tile is the opposite of that, so the opposite of negative 2 is 2. And then this is a 1, 1, 1, negative 1. So now let's go ahead and add these up and see what we get. We should get the same thing on both sides, hopefully. So if I do negative 2 plus negative 2 plus negative 2. That's negative 6. Okay, and then it says plus 2. And then plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see what that equals. Well, negative 6 plus 6 is 0 plus 2. So I'm left with 2 on this side. Now let's see if the other side should equal the same amount. Now it doesn't have to equal this. I just want to know what that whole side equals together. Well, 2 plus negative 2, that's 0. 1 plus negative 1, that's 0. I'm left with 2 over here. So 2 does equal 2, so I did do it right. So it checked out. Both sides, when I plug in a negative 2 for x, I end up with the same amount on both sides. Now, don't be confused and think that this needs to be a negative 2. My answer is negative 2, so that was my answer. That's what x was. And then I just worked all this stuff out, like I plugged it in to see what it equaled. You'll see another example when we go through it. Okay, let's go ahead and try this one, okay? So this time I'm not going to make you write down what's on the mat, but let's just go ahead and start doing some legal moves. Okay, so let's make 0 pairs first. So here's a 0 pair. There's a 0 pair. There's kind of a lot of 0 pairs. Here's a 0 pair, another 0 pair, another 0 pair. Kind of a lot on that side. Okay, on the second side, a 0 pair. Here's another 0 pair and another 0 pair. Good. So kind of the first thing you should always do. Second thing, is there any same things we could remove on both sides? Well, I see 4 positive ones here, so get rid of those. And I'll do 4 positive ones over here. Get rid of those. Okay, now we haven't seen one like this before, so I just kind of want to show you. On this first side, we have an x tile left. You can see that up here. On the second side, we have a negative x, and we also have 2 positives, so plus 2. Now, it is hard to figure out when those are going to be equal right now. So here's what your next step is. You want to get you guys might notice that there's x's on both sides. Okay, basically you only want them to be on one side. Okay, so, and you'd prefer it to be positive x's. I like to get rid of like the negative ones. So basically I want all the x's to be over here. So we have to think, is there a way I could get rid of a negative x tile? Well, there is. I could add in a positive x. Now, if you do that to one side, you better do it to the other side. So I'll add that in over here. Now, kind of look what happens here. I'll come grab a different color marker quick. When I do that, that's going to cancel, make a 0 pair, and now on this side I have 2x, right? I have these 2 x's, and over here I have 2, which is good. Now I just need to figure out, well, what would x need to be to make this true? 2 times something is 2. Well, that's pretty easy to figure out, 1. So x needs to equal 1. So that is my solution to that equation. Please write your favorite color by your first name on the front of your sheet. Okay, so now we're going to do a check to see if we did this right. So we're going to actually check this, see if we did it right. Now my answer for x was 1. So that means I'm going to plug a 1 in wherever x is, and I'm going to see what does it equal when I actually work it out. Now it does not need to equal 1. Keep that in mind. This whole side, maybe it equals 10, and then that side has to be 10 too. But I'm just trying to figure out, what does x have to be. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Okay, I'm going to start coming up here. I'll just grab blue. Wherever there's an x, I'll put a 1, because that's what we figured out x equals. So all these x's, those are 1s. We already know the 1 tiles are 1s. I'll just fill that in quick too. These are 1s. Okay, I know these are -1 tiles, -1. Okay, now the tricky part again is these negative x tiles. Remember, it's the opposite of whatever x is. So if x is 1, this really equals a -1. So I'll put a -1, a -1, a -1, a -1, -1, -1. Okay, got a lot of 1s in this problem. Okay, so now let's go ahead, let's add it up, see what both sides equal. Remember, they just have to make the same amount. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll just kind of write that down. Plus, I have -1, -2, -3. Plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Plus -2. Let's see what that equals. Ooh, kind of got to do my math good here. 4 plus 6 is 10. Plus -3 and -2 is -5. So that equals 5. So this side, everything on this mat is 5. Now this side better be the same because I wanted them to be equal. So let's check. I've got 1, 2, plus -1, -2, -3, plus down here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, plus a -1. So again, got to do some math. I get 7 plus 2 is 9, plus Negative 3 and negative 1 is negative 4. And 9 plus negative 4, that is 5. So I got 5 on both sides. That's what this whole mat equals. 5 on this side, 5 on that side. 5 does equal 5. Now again, 5 is not your answer. My answer was x equals 1. Okay, that's what all those x's equal. And then if the x was 1, then both of these sides had the same value. They both equal 5 at the end. So again, my answer is x equals 1. Okay, now that you've seen a couple examples, you can go into Schoology and download the worksheet trying some of these, and you can do these in Notability, and we will check them tomorrow.